Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. I know you guys are super excited to know more about Xuan Pin and where she is on the Esper ratings. Okay, but anyway, let's start with her strengths and her weaknesses. So for strengths, she is the best support, the best offensive support in this game by far. There is no one in this game that comes close to her in terms of offensive support. So maybe you can talk about Alice with extra assists, with attack up buff every single turn that she takes. Xuan Pin, on the other hand, is just completely broken. She decimates the competition basically. She has up to 6 different ways of improving your allies' DPS. One of which is an AoE defense break that has 100% proc chance and cannot be resisted. I mean, not cannot be resisted, but it cannot miss because she's Shimmer type after all. So that's why there is AoE defense down over here. Now, second strong point is that she has amazing longevity. I feel like based on everything that we have in the game right now, these content will stay on forever. Moving on into the future, we are only going to get content where she will continue to shine in. So I think in terms of her kit, she has amazing longevity right now. Now, of course, there's not a lot of room for me to include the rest of her strengths, like she always has an ally assisting every single turn that she takes, which makes her really good with the Astral set, so whenever she takes a turn at all, one of your allies is going to support attack, which is very, very powerful. Now, let's move on with her weaknesses. So, it is not true that she has no weaknesses at all. So, number one, she has synergy issues, and she also has AI issues. Now, in terms of synergy issues, for example, you cannot use your second skill on Gaius. You're not going to be able to benefit from that defense break and land a very powerful nuke because your Gaius is either going to get stunned or he's just going to get rid of the cannon buff anyway. But in terms of AI issues, it is also her second skill that is the main problem. So her second skill does it completely randomly. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So sometimes she can actually use it on herself, which then gives her another turn, and she doesn't really do a lot on her turn at that point because her third skill is already used up. So she's going to use her first skill, which will call in one ally to assist, but that's basically she's going to get herself stunned afterwards. So she definitely has certain AI issues, and it's not possible for you to build a team that would effectively work well abusing her second skill, unless for some reason any one of your Espers is able to take a turn and it's still going to be fine. Then sure, that's going to work out for you. But just know that her second skill is really her major letdown in my opinion. Alright, so now let's move on with the rest of the content that she's good at or she sucks at. So stories and events, she's definitely very powerful. So if you're a new player, you're climbing a story, you're going to find her amazing. She's going to clear stuff very easily for you because she's going to give your DPS Espers a lot of raw power. So if you have a Gaius and you use Gaius with her, her third skill is going to make your Gaius completely disgusting. And moving on to Sonic Rift, I do feel like the Esper is either a 1 or a 5. You can either solo it within 20 turns or you can't because we already have Mona who is able to do it within 20 turns anyway. So that is like the main comparison point. Mona is already a 5. Any Esper that needs to do well in Sonic Rift has to beat Mona or at least do the same as Mona. Now, Cube Miracle, she's definitely a 5. She increases the DPS output, allows you to sweep content very fast. All the Sonic Miracles as well, she's going to help you with your DPS output. You can start off with your third skill, nuke the first mid-boss, and then moving on to the real boss itself, use your second skill, defense break, and like, you know, just more nukes with a Louis or something. Yep, very powerful. Now moving on to Ritual Miracles, I decided to give Chronos an Apex 4 because for the most part, you want to cleave the first 2 waves like within 2 or 3 turns at most. That is the whole goal of speedrunning Chronos and Apex. But of course, if you're thinking of like doing like longer fights, then it is perfectly fine to use her. I think she's still going to work out really well for you. But in terms of speedrunning, she's not going to be that globally useful, I would think, because your DPS Esper actually needs to be faster than her. So for example, using a Gaius, right? Gaius and Ashley, Gaius needs to take the first turn, nuke everything on the first wave, nuke everything on the second wave, and then move on to the boss wave where he nukes again, and then that's when Xuan Pin comes in afterwards. So it is still possible, and the reason why I say this is because you do not want Xuan Pin to accidentally use her second skill on the wrong Esper in like, let's say the mid wave, for example, the second wave, because by doing so you could completely screw up your run, and that is not what you want. So the thing is, you need to artificially restrict her speed, which is not very good because you need her to be super fast in many other content, because her role is to take many turns. And because of the fact that you probably need to shift her equipment around all the time in order for you to use her in 2 different areas, I wouldn't really say that she's a 5 out of 5 because of that particular requirement. And the same is true for Apep as well, except for Fafnir. Now the thing about Fafnir is that the way I found her to be very useful is that, you know, Fafnir is not really a boss that you can clear within 10 turns. It's not that possible for most players. So for the second wave, it's still perfectly fine that she uses it on any one of your allies, because I think the second wave is perfectly fine, at least for me, for her to summon any one of my allies to attack. It's completely okay. Moving on to Fafnir itself, because of how long the run takes, I think it's still okay that, you know, we have a little bit of turn order changes every once in a while. For the most part, my runs are still super fast using her in Fafnir. Now next up we have Deathloop Lens. She is perfect for this content. I've talked about this before. She's really good in all 3 different shadow bosses. And our Sentinel Hunt as well, she is really good in all three because these fights last for a longer period of time. Now, with fights lasting a longer period of time, that is when her chariot buff takes place a little bit more efficiently. I mean, of course, unless you're talking about R6, then there's a completely different story because she's always going to get chariot like much faster than before. But if you're at like R0, R2 for example, your chariot is not going to come by so frequently except in longer fights like Ferbiter, Counter Sonica, Dark Starlord, Deathload Lens, these kind of content. And I just realized that I forgot to include Celestial Anomaly over here, RIP. Okay, next we have tower content. She's going to be really good in all the towers except for the Calamity Island. Reason being she's a Shima type. She does not belong in any of those. And in PvP, point 1 knockout, warm-up matches, holo battles, she is very powerful in all these content. I tried to, be a little bit more critical about her kit to like try to reduce it a little bit based on her, her bad AI and all that. But I just realized that there's so many ways that you can work around it that it doesn't really detract from her overall utility. So the most that I could do is to just reduce points in Chronos and Apex, and that's about it. Aside from that, it's almost impossible for me to reduce points in her kit. So like for example, even in Holo Battle, right, you can start off with your second skill, AoE Defense Break on the 3 enemies, push one of your allies up, like your Gaius for example, right? Okay, maybe not your Gaius, but like some other AoE DPS as well, like Louis or Chloe for example. And then boom, 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 she's gonna deal a lot of damage to like Defense Broken Espers, which is like very, very insane. So she's also really good in holo battles, so that doesn't even take away from the fact that she's more of a big AoE DPS offensive support Esper. So overall average of a triple S, this is for sure. There is no way. There's no way around this. Based on the past 2 weeks of just abusing her in every single content, she is absolutely disgusting and she definitely needs to be stopped. I know it's not going to be possible anymore. Okay, now let's move on with her ideal equipment sets. So there are mostly going to be a couple, right? So there is the Astral Avatara, Ocean Avatara, Astral Avatara on PvP, and Wind Avatara on PvP as well. Now for the most part, the reason why Wind Avatara is good in PvP is because if you're going to be using her as the fastest Esper on your team, then yes, you want her to be on the Wind set so that she can push one of your allies at the start. Mostly for holo battles and warm-up matches, I would think. Not so much for point 1. In point 1, it's okay for her to be the second fastest Esper, and if that's the case, Astro is probably going to be better. In terms of PvE, Astro is always going to be the best because whenever she takes another turn, she's going to defense break all enemies after using her third skill and then, push one of the allies up as well. It's amazing. And Ocean set is also pretty good if you want to cycle her third skill a little bit more quickly because of the attack buff that it provides. But for the most part, Avatara is really good for her because whenever she counterattacks, she's going to call in one extra ally to counterattack as well. It's very, very disgusting. Alright, so there you go. This is the Esper review for Xuan Pin, also known as Jiu Tian Xuan Yu, and she is very, very broken. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with anything that I said. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more dislike content. Now that's it. This has been Derek Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.